I also wish to offer our condolences to the family of Mr. Sadiq Mia, who died tragically at our Barak Street office on Monday. We are grateful to our office supervisor, Mr. Ricken Winter, who tried to assist Mr. Mia as he succumbed to illness and stood by his family's side until his remains were finally taken away. Chairperson, in early April, I announced a war on excessively long queues. I directed the department to develop urgent interventions in the short and medium term to reduce and better manage the queues, but in the long term to eradicate them altogether through innovative solutions. In response, the department has developed a strategy which focuses, among others.
Honorable Minister,
Please.
Honorable.
I'm sorry to disturb the Minister. So there in the screen, it was not Minister Kigaba. We're seeing Minister Jeff Hadeb. I'm not talking to you.
Okay, no, it has been corrected, Honorable. Thank you very much for your observation. Can we invite the Minister to continue?
In response, the department has developed a strategy which focuses, among others, on reopening our offices on Saturdays, addressing IT system failures, better managing fluctuations in client demand, improving management of offices, and introducing additional service channels. I have also requested a thorough performance audit of frontline office managers, which will be acted upon through management support, training interventions, or redeployments. Among others, the Western Cape has developed a detailed monitoring system that analyzes queue patterns at different times of the day at all offices in the region and enables swift responses where, for instance, large numbers of people have turned up at a particular office, which allows for effective remedial actions to be taken. It is hoped that we will be able to broadcast a Home Affairs tracking report on different radio stations with the assistance of GCIS and direct clients to underutilized offices in the metro. Best practices like those will be identified and rolled out to other offices. We have signed an agreement with CETA and Dimension Data to improve our network reliability, which is a huge source of frustration to clients and officials when our systems go offline and services can no longer be delivered. Through this partnership, we aim to achieve 99% network availability by 2019. Chairperson, in 2015, we outlined 5 key tasks that would be our priorities during this term of office. That is 1, accelerating the modernization program to use technology to deliver more efficient, convenient, and secure services. Accelerating the finalization of the Border Management Authority, revamping the physical and systems infrastructure of 6 major commercial land ports of entry, adopting a new and more comprehensive international migration policy framework, and improving frontline services. These priorities build on our core services of civil registration and immigration services. Today, most of our clients apply for identity documents through a live, paperless process with photographs taken in our offices and receive technologically advanced and secure smart ID cards and passports, which are available for collection within 1 or 2 weeks of the date of application in most cases. We are proud to announce that we have issued 10 million smart ID cards to South Africans over the last 5 years. In fact, the recipient of the 10th million card, Ms. Nomthandazo Maweni, is here as our guest in the gallery. If you could rise. Thank you. We have introduced innovation in many areas of our work, and yet much more still remains to be done. Our 184 digitized Home Affairs offices around the country take card payments. Many of our clients even utilize the e-Home Affairs service launched in 2016, allowing them to pay online, schedule an appointment, and apply for smart ID cards and passports at 14 participating bank branches nationally, currently. Thus far, approximately 212,101 smart ID cards and more than 222,406 passports have been obtained through the existing 14 pilot branches, which is a huge success. We intend finalizing a public-private partnership with the banking sector and National Treasury to roll this out across the country before the end of this financial year. Meanwhile, we have agreed with our banking partners, Standard Bank, FNB, Nedbank, and ABSA, to extend e-Home Affairs to 20 additional branches immediately. Areas to be prioritized include Durban, Pietermaritzburg, East London, Nelspruit, and Polokwane. We will announce further details on these expansion plans in the next few weeks. Chairperson, we have made great strides towards universal early birth registration, which is the foundation of effective civil registration. We have a presence at 391 hospitals and clinics, of which 67 have permanent staff. This has helped us increase the percentage of births registered within 30 days from 59% in 2013-14 to 74% to date. Currently, 46% of births are registered at health facilities rather than at our offices. It is imperative that we build on our partnership with the Department of Health to get this number to 100%. All of this makes us a fitting host for ID for Africa 2018, a movement to ensure all Africans have legal identity, promote the responsible adoption of digital identity systems, ensure all our people can participate in democracy and the economy, and access government services. Chairperson, a few years ago, we faced questions over whether our systems were up to the task of managing immigration, both to support the economy and minimize security risks. Through our advanced passenger processing system, we are able to conduct risk assessments to identify and, if necessary, deny entry to high-risk persons. Through our enhanced movement control system, which has been rolled out to all major ports of entry and linked to our permitting system, we are able to track each movement in and out of our borders. We can identify bona fide frequent travelers, which will be helpful for our future trusted traveler system, as well as those who have transgressed our laws. We have added biometric capability at 4 airports and 6 land ports, which has allowed us to store the photographs and fingerprints of people entering our country. This improves our security while enabling efficient entry for visitors. In this financial year, we will pilot e-permitting functionality, which will allow visitors to South Africa to apply for visas online, receive an electronic visa within hours or days, and be able to proceed directly to South Africa. This will optimize on the staff we have and increase the efficiency of our adjudication system. It will also improve ease of access to South Africa and help grow tourism. We have introduced a visa exemption for Russia, which has increased tourist travel from Russia by 51% in 2017, year on year. This year, we will simplify visa requirements for Chinese and Indian visitors. We will also ease the entry of people with valid visas from countries with stringent criteria such as the US and the UK. In the medium term, we will introduce trusted traveler e-gates at our airports to fast-track entry of South African citizens and other low-risk travelers. This year, we will work closely with stakeholders, including the Departments of Tourism and Transport, AXA, the tourism industry, and others, to develop and implement a strategy to grow South Africa as an attractive and efficient transit hub and destination for tourists and business people. Effective management of international migration also entails enforcing laws which bar the employment of undocumented immigrants and those without work visas. Our laws also require that South African companies ensure that South Africans constitute at least 60% of their workforce. To enforce our laws, we are shifting our focus to employers, business owners and managers, rather than only individual immigrants working illegally. And we will charge these business owners and managers for contravening the Immigration Act. We will continue engagements with business groups in sectors such as hospitality, construction, retail, and others, with high rates of non-compliance to ensure voluntary adherence. Chairperson, in terms of the 5 priorities we outlined in 2015, first, we have made steady progress in modernizing and digitizing Home Affairs in order to make our services efficient and seamless. During this financial year, we will automate and digitize additional services for our clients' benefit, including birth, marriage, and death registration, as well as amendments of names and citizenship. This will enable quicker applications and shorter turnaround times. This morning, we launched the automated biometric identification system that will enable advanced identification and verification through fingerprints, palm prints, iris, facial recognition, and DNA. And when I say iris, I don't mean the name of a lady, I mean the thing in your eye. The APIs will form the backbone of the future national identity system, which will replace the National Population Register, the Electronic Movement Control System, and the National Immigration Identification System. The successful implementation of the NIS will substantially improve data management, reduce fraudulent transactions, and enable e-government and e-commerce services. This year, 78 mobile units will be equipped with live capture functionality for the issuance of smart ID cards and passports, and this will contribute significantly to the expansion of the DHA footprint, especially in rural areas and marginalized areas. Secondly, the Border Management Authority is close to being finalized by the National Council of Provinces this year. From September 2018, the department will be rolling out the BMA pilot project at Oshuk, OR Tambo International Airport, and the Port of Entry Control Center here in Cape Town. The project will pilot and establish an integrated border management approach between key operational border and law enforcement organs of state deployed within identified ports of entry, test and document lessons and best practices amongst other objectives. The project, thirdly, we have plans to finalize the public-private partnership to redevelop 6 key land ports of entry this year to fund their total design, redevelopment, finance, construction, operation, and maintenance, as well as the provision of broadband connectivity. Fourthly, we are working to implement and institutionalize South Africa's new international migration policy, adopted in 2017. We've already started implementing elements of the white paper, such as long-term multiple entry visas for African academics, business people, and frequent travelers. However, those elements that require major changes will be implemented pending the finalization of a new legislation, which is at an advanced stage. In support of the AU policy regarding free movement of persons, the department continues to identify African countries to be exempted from visa requirements. Last year, we extended visa exemptions to the Republic of Angola and Madagascar, which means that citizens of 14 out of 15 SADC countries are now able to visit South Africa visa-free. The current visa waiver process is a roadmap to the progressive visa removal for all African citizens that is expected to be finalized by 2023 to facilitate free trade, movement of people, goods, and services. Fifth, The Deputy Minister will outline in detail the measures we are taking to improve frontline service, including our key initiative in this regard, the Moetapile program. Chairperson, in 2018-19 financial year, we are transferring 1.97 billion rand to the Independent Electoral Commission and 149 million rand to the Represented Political Parties Fund. Preparations for next year's national and provincial elections are already underway by the Electoral Commission. These preparations include a number of proposed legislative amendments aimed at enhancing various aspects of the election process, which will be tabled soon. GPW has a 5-year plan to reposition itself to be the state-mandated security printer of choice. As part of the plan, GPW is vigorously marketing itself in the SADC region and other African countries for production of identity documents, passports, and other high-security documents. No transfers are being made to the GPW as the entity is self-funding. In conclusion, we are making visible strides in meeting our performance targets, rising to an expected 90% in 2018-19, compared to 89% in 2017-18 and 53% in 2013-14. We have worked diligently to improve the department's financial management and governance, achieving our first unqualified financial audit in several years in 2016-17. Honorable members will remember that the last unqualified audit was obtained in 2010-2011. We intend to make this a consistent pattern in the department to improve our financial management and ultimately to achieve clean audits. In this regard, I would like to thank the Deputy Minister for her tireless work, sterling support and counsel all the time. I also thank the Director General, his deputies, for their excellent support. I wish to particularly single out the staff of Home Affairs, who have continued diligently to deliver much-needed services to our people at increasing volumes without increased resources. I wish to also thank the chairperson, commissioners, and CEO of the IEC, the CEO of GPW, and the entire staff of these entities for their hard work, dedication, and constructive support. I further would like to thank the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, as well as all the members of the committee, for their support and constructive criticism and guidance in the execution of our mandate. The chairperson is whomsoever is elected by the committee when the meeting sits. Not least, I would like to thank my wife, children, and family for their unwavering support as we continue to execute our mandate and serve our nation. Chairperson, it is my privilege at this moment to table this, the budget vote 5 for the Department of Home Affairs, before this august house, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Gumede.
On a point of order, Chair.
Honorable Gumede, just hold on. There's a point of order.
I think you forgot something. When the proceedings started, the gallery may not participate, so if you could speak to them, please. Thank you.
Okay, no, is a good point. We can request all our invited guests not to participate in the debate in the House. They shouldn't clap their hands. They shouldn't comment. They should enjoy the sitting. Honorable Gumede.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Firstly, our hearts go to Honorable Tambuza and Honorable Nkomo, who could not be here for health reasons. And also we want to say to Member Mnisi, we are with you in your bereavement. She has lost a brother over the weekend and therefore could not be here. So, Honorable Chairperson, let me say from the onset, the African National Congress supports this budget vote, and this vote is for the department to efficiently determine and safeguard the identity of citizens, as well as to regulate immigration to ensure security, promote development, and fulfill South Africa's international obligations. For that, this Parliament will vote to allocate 915,400,000 to the department. And for the department to use it efficiently, effectively, and economically. Honorable Chairperson, our portfolio committee will have to oversee implementation of the department's key mandate, which is to guarantee identity documentation and status of each and every South African citizen, as well as managing the regulation and management of international migration in its contribution to make South Africa and everyone within her borders safe and feel safe. Honorable Chairperson, in executing this important mandate in the 2016-2017 financial year, the department has shown much improvement in governance and accountability, which is reflected in the unqualified audit of the Auditor General. It is not common for the Auditor General to state that, in his view, a department has spent each and every cent for the purpose it was meant. We say, well done, DG and your team. Having said that, the next question was whether this good governance was sustainable or not, for which we looked at the tools of effective governance, namely the control systems in the department, which are a competent accounting officer, a competent CFO, a competent and qualified internal audit team, a competent and qualified audit committee, and, of course, a competent parliamentary committee that oversees performance. Moving away from financial management into operational management, we have seen that a lot of good work has been done, but a lot still needs to be done as well. Here we are concerned about poor and slow queues, frequent computer shutdowns, which result in people being sent back home without a service, shutdowns because of cable thefts, etc. Oh, the journey from the Dompas to smart cards was long and tedious. All it needs is hard work and dedication. On that, there is no compromise from this Parliament. To all clients of Home Affairs, we say your Parliament is trying very hard to make sure that you have good and pleasant experiences in all offices of Home Affairs. Please bear with us. Kuzolunga. We were pleased, though, to hear that you are changing that IT service provider, and as soon as the new one starts, we do not want to hear anything about shutdowns because of your IT systems DG. Honorable Chairperson, there is further good news coming our way. Some services are available from some reputable banks now, and the department is rolling out that service now, as the minister has said. And hopefully that will result in faster services and happier experiences for all our clients. Thanks to the private-public partnerships that are fruits of your toil and leadership, Honorable Minister and your team. We know that you are not only monitoring queues. Keep working harder. We can do things, and things are getting better. We can also testify that indeed today is better than yesterday, and your actions show that tomorrow will be better than today. We are coming from DOM pass to smart cards. We were DOM, and now we are smart. Honorable Chairperson, members of the committee are from time to time monitoring Home Affairs offices, and whilst many are doing well, not everyone is doing their best to ensure prompt service for our clients. Let them know that we want management and staff that care. Batu Pili. Moving on, Honorable Chairperson, on the 1st of March 2017, Cabinet approved repositioning of the department from a mainly administrative approach and management into being mainly a security organ of the state. This change demanded resources and capacities that will be in line with a changing mandate. We therefore expect the department to be more efficient, more effective, and more professional as a result. Along with improvements, the government is acting on the porous borders many citizens have been complaining about in order to regulate migration and to improve security within its borders. And as a result, Parliament is in its final stages of drafting the Border Management Authority, as the Minister has said, which will combine the strengths, resources, capabilities, as well as experiences of many departments to manage activities around our borderline. Among these departments are South African National Defence Force, State Security Agency, Home Affairs, Customs, Agriculture, and Health. Other pieces of legislation that are in the parliamentary system are the amendment of the Immigration Bill, as well as the Refugee Bill, which also need to be finalized with the required speed. In my concluding remarks, let me mention the position of the ANC on Fireblade on Oppenheimer arrangement. We reject privatization of our ports of entry as a matter of principle. And that's the principle that determines our position. Public service cannot dedicate their services to the rich few because they can afford, and exclude the majority because they cannot afford. I'm sure Utatu Mandela no Mama Usisulu uyasivumela. Our committee is also dealing with the issue of naturalization in general as a result of reports about the citizenship of the Guptas. Parliament is verifying the authenticity of some supporting documentation in the naturalization of that family, as a matter of priority. If we find any prima facie evidence,
Please conclude.
we shall not doubt to send that evidence to the Hawks for further investigation. They can investigate better than Parliament. Despite all the problems we have, we remain the best country in the world. If you doubt, travel the world. My last concluding remark will be on the IEC. The IEC mandate is aligned with the NDP's vision of building a capable development state and an active and engaged citizenry. 3.1 billion rands has been allocated in the METF period. This commission undertakes extensive civic and democracy education and communications campaign to protect the credibility and integrity of our electoral process. In supporting this budget vote, we are positive that the funds will be spent for what they were meant. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Hussein.
Honorable Chairperson, 2 days ago, dozens of civilians, including women and children, were massacred in the Middle East. We all have a responsibility to openly and strongly condemn the loss of any innocent life. There is no justifiable reason for taking the life of another person. Closer to home, we are seeing an increase in the number of political killings in KZN. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, we extend our condolences to the family of the ANC and IFP councillors who have lost their lives through political intolerance. Once again, we condemn this brutal act. I also want to express our concern regarding the increasing religious intolerance in the Muslim community, which resulted in a young man being butchered to death at a mosque in Verulam in Durban. Honorable Chairperson, I raise these concerning matters for the very specific reason of highlighting the simmering tension between Somali shopkeepers and local community leaders in KwaMashu in Durban. I hold in my hand an ultimatum from the North Region Business Association, issued to all Somali shop owners in the area to shut down their stores in 14 days or face the consequences. I want to draw to the attention of this House that unless we take urgent preventative measures, we shall see the repeat of xenophobic violence once again in our communities, as we have seen so many years ago. This is the same organization who issued a similar threat a few years ago. And that threat resulted in an all-out war between vulnerable foreigners and local leaders. Many of them lost their lives and lost their possessions. I call on the Minister to give this House the assurance that he will give this matter the urgent attention that it deserves to prevent a recurrence of that ghastly situation. We have a responsibility to protect those vulnerable and innocent refugees who are simply trying to live an honest and decent life. On the other hand, we have a situation in our country where an unknown number of people enter illegally because of our porous borders. Then there are millions of people who enter legally, but don't leave. And we have just only under 800 immigration officers in the country whose job it is to seek out, arrest, and the undocumented immigrants. This situation forces some people in our country to take the law into their own hands and drive out foreigners, because they have lost confidence in this department's ability to secure our porous borders. And in the process, innocent and properly documented foreigners become the victims of their anger. In an environment where 9.5 million people are unemployed, this failure on the path of Home Affairs only serves to inflame the tensions between locals and foreigners. Chairperson, when we met here 2 years ago, Minister Gigaba gave this House the assurance that his department is working hard to provide an efficient, professional, and dignified service to the people of our country. Let me quote his words. "I am convinced," he said, "that the leadership demonstrated by each and every one of our employees is a critical ingredient to our success." He went on to say that we are committed to ensuring our customers consistently experience excellent customer service. Honorable members, when you visit a Home Affairs office anywhere in our country, on most occasions, the experience is very often anything but professional and excellent. People would rather visit their dentist than a Home Affairs office because they dread going there. Poor office conditions. Listen, maybe you can fix the problem. Poor office conditions, long queues, and bad attitude of some staff members have built us a reputation of being the Department of Horror Affairs. People wait for many hours in long queues and are often greeted by rude security guards who treat you more like he's doing you a favor. Then they wait the entire day in open sun or rain to reach the front of the queue, only to be told that they must return the next day because the office has reached its quota. Unscrupulous elements have now seen a business opportunity, and they are now selling places in the queue, and the department turns a blind eye. And when you do eventually manage to get inside the office, you're often met by unfriendly, underpaid, and overworked staff. There is nothing more annoying to a customer when he arrives at a packed Home Affairs office and finds only 2 out of 15 counters operating. Let me pause at this moment to mention that not every staff member at Home Affairs is guilty of treating the public with disrespect. There are many hardworking and very professional staff who go way beyond the call of duty to be daily ambassadors of the department, but there is very little recognition for their hard work. There is very little incentive for professionalism in the department. I want to call on the provincial managers who are present here today, because speaking to the political leadership doesn't help anymore. Please, for the sake of the people of our country, get rid of those unprofessional and rude staff who give our department a bad name. You know who they are. Why are you still protecting them and keeping them in this department? If they are not prepared to serve the citizens of our country, then let them go and work in a spaza shop. Chairperson, the allocated budget to this department is clearly insufficient to meet the demands of effective service delivery, especially in immigration affairs where we need more immigration officers. One of the contributing factors of the long queues at Home Affairs countrywide is because there are far too live capture systems for smart ID and passport applications. The DAF called for an appointment system to be introduced, but even this is ignored. If the people of South Africa give the DA the opportunity, we will double the applications per day, and we will guarantee those long queues will disappear. So when you have an ANC minister, who spends almost 900,000 rand on travel and accommodation for his wife, the people of South Africa must understand why they receive poor services at Home Affairs. I want to ask Minister Gigaba, does he really believe that this is acceptable in our current circumstances? To spend such vast amounts of money on your own wife? Even the IEC is struggling to meet its targets of voter registration because there's insufficient funds. Honorable Chairperson, a few years ago, a company named Fireblade made an application to the department to operate a private VVIP terminal at OR Tambo International Airport. Initially, it seemed that everything was going as planned. The minister and senior officials had meetings with the company, pursuing the feasibility and exploring possibilities. There is on record a wealth of back and forth correspondence between that company, Fireblade, the minister and officials in his department. At no stage whatsoever did the minister ever say to anyone that permission for such a facility could not be granted because of a lack of existing government policy or whatever that Honorable Gumede had mentioned earlier. In fact, both the minister and senior officials in his department held many meetings with many departments, working to make the VVIP terminal at OR Tambo International Airport a reality. But suddenly something happened. The minister had a very sudden change of heart. And the matter ended up in court where the minister lost miserably. In fact, the court even expressed serious concern about the minister's lies. So what exactly happened? Why did the minister change his mind? Was there something sinister happening behind the scenes? Well, let me share with you the version from affidavits filed in court papers. Reports indicate that an associate of the Gupta family apparently rocked up at the Fireblade offices with a message from Mr. Rajesh Gupta. And that message was clear. Fireblade apparently will never be granted approval for the VVIP terminal application because they had the wrong empowerment partners, and if they could agree to choose an appropriate partner, Mr. Gupta himself could guarantee that the application will receive ministerial approval. When Fireblade turned down the offer, please listen, you want to conduct an investigation, so listen. When Fireblade turned down the offer, their battle with the minister started. Is this just a coincidence? Well, Honorable Chairperson, when we quizzed the minister last week about why he had a sudden change of heart, his response was that he did not think a family should own a private terminal at the airport. We agree. Yet for years, he engaged with them. He met with them. He instructed officials to make progress, and even asked Fireblade to allow Jacob Zuma to do the official opening. But now he suddenly behaves like he was opposed to it from the very beginning. The minister will naturally deny this. However, Honorable Chairperson, today we call on this committee to include in its probe into state capture the involvement of Minister Gigaba in this whole Fireblade saga, and invite persons who have the relevant information to come forward to assist Parliament to get to the bottom of this matter. In addition to our request for the investigation into the Gupta citizenship affair, we want this matter of Fireblade to be included in that probe so that we can get to the bottom of it and expose the minister's involvement with the Guptas. Honorable Chairperson, before I conclude, a very serious and worrying trend is developing in the Department of Home Affairs. Home Affairs continues to show complete disregard for court orders. It has a reputation of giving our courts the middle finger. The Supreme Court of Appeal ruled in September last year, and supported by the Constitutional Court, that all refugees reception centers must be opened by the 31st of March. To date, these centers remain closed. They show scant regard for the difficulties asylum seekers have to face by traveling from Cape Town all the way to Durban or Pretoria just to renew their asylum seeker permits. While Home Affairs claim to respect international agreements on the treatment of refugees and asylum seekers, in practice they make it impossible for asylum seekers to abide by the rules so that they can be found guilty of breaking our immigration laws and then deported without trial. Minister Gigaba, in his response, must please tell us when these offices are going to be opened. And then you have the very embarrassing ruling by the Constitutional Court against the department for detaining and deporting undocumented immigrants without first granting them the constitutional right to a fair trial. The same kind of activity that the apartheid government conducted. This ruling was handed down more than a year ago, and up until today, the department has not even started to make the necessary adjustments to the Immigration Act. Once again, another middle finger waved at the court. But then what else do you expect from a department when its political head himself was found to be lying to the court? In fact, so serious that the court expressed his conduct amounted to a serious violation of the Constitution. Honorable Chairperson, although the Department of Home Affairs has been making some good progress under very difficult circumstances, the political leadership of this department damages the good reputation that Home Affairs can build. We must congratulate the department for the good work it does. But our job here is to remain focused on the areas that require attention so that the people of our country can get what they rightfully deserve, a decent, efficient, and professional service. But for as long as we have this kind of political leadership, the situation will remain unchanged. This is why we are asking South Africans to answer the following questions. Do you want a Home Affairs department that works for you? Do you want a department that treats you with respect and dignity? Do you want a fast and efficient professional Home Affairs department that operates with excellence and professionalism? Then you need to bring total change to Home Affairs. Get rid of this department, get rid of this government, and replace it with another one that knows how to deliver. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Khalip.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can the ANC behave, please? Chairperson, if there is one department amongst those that have suffered the most in the recent past because of the Gupta capture, crisis, and collapse, is the Department of Home Affairs. Instead of servicing millions of South Africans, Africans from all over the continent and all over the world, the Gupta stooge minister decided to privatize the services of Home Affairs to dictate the resources to naturalize members of the Gupta family illegally.
Honourable Khalip. Point of order.
Point of order, Chair. The honorable member cannot refer an honorable minister of this house, a stewardess of a particular family. Please, it's unparliamentary. She's my fighter. She understands the point I'm making. And when I speak, Chair, the DA must shut up. You must shut up when I'm coming for you here. I'll be with you just now. You must just shut up. But the fighter, just withdraw that part.
No, the Honorable Shauk has withdrawn that. He has withdrawn that. Honorable members, let us not just disturb speakers for the sake of doing that. Honorable member, please continue.
Sorry?
Continue.
Oh, thank you. People in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban Station office stand in a long queues, exploited and forced to pay bribes to be on the queues in order to get services. People in Sibasa office are forced to queue as early as 3 a.m. in the morning, but your officials in the department comes around 9 a.m. and leave the office around 2 p.m. And this is happening all over the country. Minister, you go all over the country and you declare war.
Honorable members, let us allow her.
Minister, you go all over the country and you declare wars against the queues. Minister, we don't want wars. We need practical solutions. We have too much violence in KZN. People are dying left and right, and the ANC is not doing anything. And we have a war against women that is done by men. Members of the Gupta families have South African ID numbers, but they did not meet the requirements. Atul Gupta has South African ID. Rajesh Kumar Gupta has a South African ID. AJ Gupta has a South African ID. This is despite the deliberate lies by the minister when he was trying to hide his rot and corruption. Members of Gupta family are registered to vote in the general elections while they are not supposed to because of the Minister of Home Affairs. Even when the minister misled the nation and said Atul Gupta is not a citizen of South Africa, Atul Gupta with an ID number is registered to vote at Saxon World Primary School. What is a matter of fact is that minister had lied so much that he can't even tell the difference between his old and new lies.
Order. There's a
No,
point
thank
of
you.
order.
No, thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mkhalipi, just avoid to use unparliamentary language.
Yes, Chair.
Just continue.
Thank you.
policy.
Even the North Gauteng High Court found that minister lied under oath when he testified. Deliberately so, told untruth under oath, said a judge of a court. If it was not for the ANC inability to legislate and govern properly, we will not be sitting here with a family claiming a private terminal at OR Tambo International Airport. Today is the Oppenheimers with their own terminal at OR Tambo International Airport. Tomorrow is the Rupert with his own private terminal at Winnie Madikizela Mandela International Airport. The next thing you must know is that money, mineral resources, traffic women and girls will be laundered through these private terminals, Minister. Before we know it, Home Affairs will need permission to enter into these private terminals to do their job. Government has the responsibility to properly file the correct papers at the correct courts and make the correct argument to prevent any ownership of private terminals in South African airports. But there is no rescuing anything in this department. As long as Mr. Kigaba is still a minister, there is no hope at all. Minister, we have lost all credibility, we have lost public trust, and should not be in cabinet as a minister and hold any public position for that matter. Until such time, the President Cyril Ramaphosa come to his senses, then EFF will not support the Department of Home Affairs budget because we are in a shame.
Please conclude, Honorable Member.
We reject this budget vote, Chair, as EFF. Thank you.
Honorable Singh. The Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, there is no doubt that this department has an extremely high volume administrative burden, and its officials and immigration officers are all taxed to the maximum. So it must remain a well-functioning department. My parliamentary office remains inundated with queries from constituents that are unresolved. Queries that vary from PR applications submitted years ago but not yet finalized, to obtaining copies of marriage certificates, ID cards, etc. We have been raising the issue of inordinately long queues, and other members have done so. Whilst you, Honourable Minister, have made some pronouncements in this regard after unannounced site visits, there seems to be no credible working system, or at very best, a system that runs intermittently. Computers are often offline, Honourable Gumeta referred to this. And we have heard of people having to spend days at a Home Affairs branch to resolve simple issues. What is the problem, Honourable Minister? And how are you planning to resolve it? All of these people cannot be complaining just for the sake of complaining. And let us not bury our heads in the sand and think that the problem does not exist. Let us deal with it, and we wish you well in the interventions that you may have. Honourable Chairperson, I have walked into SARS, and I'm sure many of you, and there is a well-functioning system in place. You should know that, Minister. You were Minister of Finance for a few months. You don't stand in queues, 500 people deep. And then when you finally get to the counter, you are advised, sorry, it was the wrong minister. Then you are advised that you are in the wrong queue. Officials should be outside, interacting and advising people in these queues, informing them of the procedure and checking whether they have the relevant documentation. The inconvenience, especially for the people from rural areas who have to travel great distances only to be told that the office is too busy and cannot accommodate them on that day, is not only costly but humiliating. These are the real stories, Honourable Minister, and this is how the system is treating ordinary South Africans. The infrastructure in some of these offices are horrendous, and definitely not what this government would want to showcase. It's demotivating also for the staff that work in these offices. Chairperson, this department also has a responsibility to contribute to peace and stability in South Africa. And this starts with who is allowed through our ports of entry and land borders. And Honorable Hussain referred to this. The increasing tensions between spaza shop owners, local spaza shop owners, and foreign spaza shop owners is a time bomb out there. You have to do something about it, Minister, through your department. In terms of illegal immigrants and private companies that employ or facilitate entry into South Africa, I agree with you, Honourable Minister, that they must be brought to book. And in terms of corruption, we would like to know to what extent you have identified this in the department. What is the extent of people coming to South Africa who should not be here? In conclusion, Honourable Minister, because I don't know how much of time I got, there's no clock here. To this end, Minister, human resources in our Home Affairs offices based internationally must be looked into. As a Chief Whip, we went to United Kingdom recently and we found that the human resources were lacking in the UK office. Finally, Honourable Minister, put service delivery first because your department deals with 55 million South Africans and international visitors. The IFP supports the budget vote. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Singh. The next speaker will be the Honourable the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs.
Good afternoon to everybody here today, and thank you all for being here. This month we celebrate Africa, a continent that has given much to the world in terms of science, medicine, sports, arts and culture. We draw on the wisdom of the Akan people of Ghana, whose mythological bird, Sankofa, always looks back while flying forward. It learns from the past while moving resolutely forward. Our work at Home Affairs is guided by the symbolism of Sankofa that connects with history to build solid future outcomes. The restoration of dignity to millions of South Africans is what inspires us each day we come to work. For many years, the department has seriously engaged in a mission to bring about huge improvements in our services and outcomes. And in light of some of the bad experiences suffered by some citizens that is regularly reported in our media, this may not be abundantly evident. But the facts outlined in Minister Gikaba's speech show several substantial gains in many areas of operation. We are determined to ensure that this trajectory is maintained and strengthened as we forge ahead. There's always a saying, Minister, that if you do nothing, you are sure not to make any mistakes. I am very privileged to lead the Motapile program that was introduced in 2015 after Minister Gikaba demanded a leadership ethic from each and every one of us who work in Home Affairs. Motapile entails structural and organizational changes, yes, but most importantly, the progressive realization of a culture of caring and of going the extra mile. Our interactions countrywide in recent years convince us that a growing number of staff are internalizing the principles of Motapile. In addition, we get positive feedback from many, many citizens, which is not often publicly shared because good news makes no headlines. And here are just some of a few examples. Mr. John Tserema, an official stationed at Mankwa office in Northwest, volunteers his free time at the Moses Kotane Clinic to ensure that babies who receive their medical treatment there are registered on the National Population Register. Last year alone, he managed to assist 2,815 mothers to acquire their birth certificates for their children, entirely on a voluntary basis. The Desmond Tutu Refugee Reception Center opens its doors to clients at 8 a.m., but we know that many people queue outside from much, much earlier in the morning. 8 officials at the Desmond Tutu Refugee Center see to it that the office is fully operational by 6 a.m. every day. Several of them work long hours each day to attend to the large crowds who gather there, bearing in mind that 70% of all asylum applications are lodged there. 6 officials at the Cape Town large office have volunteered to work until 6 p.m. if there are clients who are still in the queue at closing time at 4 p.m. Our Orlando West and Maponia Mall offices in Soweto, as well as our office in Krugersdorp, regularly open on a Saturday morning and voluntarily work to assist schoolgoers to obtain their IDs so that they can write their matric exams. Wearing name tags has helped members of the public calling officials by name when either complaining or praising their efforts. Mr. Michael Erasmus, an area manager for PPC Cement, had this to say after he had to wait in a queue in the busy Belleville office here in the Western Cape. He says, despite hundreds of people waiting, official Michael Lalenta was very clear and efficient when he addressed clients individually. The long wait did not matter to me, as I knew I had the correct documents. I knew where to go and what to expect. I then got my passport in 9 days, and for this I say thank you. You have my respect, and I recognize the whole department, close quotes. The Western Cape senior management, working together with office managers, has developed a detailed monitoring system that analyzes queue patterns at different times of the day at all offices in the region and enables swift responses where, for instance, large numbers of people have turned up in a particular office. And this allows us to know exactly which offices have a lot of people at what time of the day. With this information, we'll be able to broadcast on community and other radio stations very much like a traffic report so that people who want to come to Home Affairs would know where to go in which offices in the metro. These are some of the initiatives that we have been developing in response to the minister's call for war on queues. As part of the Good Citizenship Program, we have continued in the last year to ensure that citizens know the importance of civil registration, while understanding that as South Africans whose citizenship was bequeathed to us by so many freedom fighters who sacrificed their freedoms, their comforts, and even their lives, that we have a special responsibility to live up to their brave and heroic lives by doing all we can to be model citizens who live the values of respect and human dignity and strive towards transforming and making our country work. Understanding the singular role that women play in the transformation of our nation, the Good Citizenship Program has focused on reaffirming the dignity of women in society. We have addressed hundreds of Muslim women, stressing the importance of civil marriages. This is to address the ongoing injustices and indignity facing many who are left without legal protection upon divorce or death of their spouses. Marriage registrations can be concluded at offices of Home Affairs or under the hand of imams, who are marriage officers associated with about 200 mosques around the country. In the Overberg region of the Western Cape, we recently hosted a dialogue on the abuse of women. Apart from empowering women about the cycle of violence in intimate relationships, which is a sadly growing crisis in our country, we handed over several identity documents, one of which was to an 82-year-old lady farm worker, who for the first time in her life had the dignity of an official identity card and can now access her state pension, amongst other things. Like the mythical bird, Sankofa, we look back with just a little satisfaction that multitudes of South Africans deprived of their identity during apartheid are having their citizenship affirmed in the democratic era of equality. In November 2017, the Department of Home Affairs introduced a hugely improved
Can you round out
refugee travel document. I want to just say very briefly that for the first time since 2003, or since 2008, for the first time since 2003, we recorded just under 24,000 new asylum applications last year. This is the lowest number for 16 years. The dynamic management under the leadership of the newly appointed Chief Director Mandla Madumisa and our center managers is largely to thank for the turnaround. The Director General must be commended for his personal attention to various initiatives at the refugee reception centers. I'm pleased to announce that the regulations to the Refugee Amendment Bill will be published for comment next week. The provisions will enable us to effectively deal with backlogs, but will also tackle the specter of abandoned applications. We suspect that many of the people who abandoned their applications for asylum are still living in the country as illegal migrants. There are about 514,000 abandoned cases on the NIS system, and these essentially are people who received short-term visas entitling them to work, study, and stay in the Republic, but then simply never returned to finalize their applications.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Your time
Thank you
has
very
expired.
much.
The next speaker is Honorable Raputi.
Honorable Chairperson, the Minister of Home Affairs, the Deputy Minister, honorable members, distinguished guests, and fellow South Africans. We, the ANC, support the budget vote number 5 of Home Affairs. Honorable members, this year we celebrate the centenary of Mama Albertina Sisulu and Tate Nelson Mandela. Most importantly, the 12th of May 2018, we celebrated the International Nurses Day, and also on the 13th of May, it was Mother's Day. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to the mothers who are here today. And we dedicate these 2 days, that the Nurses Day and the Mother's Day, to Mama Albertina Sisulu, who could have been 100 years. And other mothers, especially my mom, who used to love this committee so much, who used to follow this committee, because she could tell me and give me a positive feedback about the progressive development this department has done. Taking from the era of apartheid, and she could not understand why some of the blacks are still voting Democratic, this DA, so the Democratic Alliance. She could not understand seeing people sitting there on the left and speaking so ill about our African National Congress. However, I'm going to discuss about Program 2,
point of order.
Citizens Affairs.
Honorable, there is a point of order. What is the point of order?
One could ask why 9.5 million unemployed people even think about voting for the ANC.
That's
when
not
you
a
can't
point
give
of
them jobs.
order. You are out of order, Mr. Walters. Proceed, Rapporteur.
I'm still saying that my mother, who experienced the ills of apartheid, she used to give me a positive feedback about what is this progressive ANC government has achieved. And she could not understand why the blacks in the DA are supporting this verkramte organization. I'm going to discuss about Program 2, which is Citizen Affairs, which is being allocated about 3.6 billion, which is the most program that has been allocated in such budget. The purpose of this civic affairs is to ensure efficient and accessible services and documents for the citizens, and ensure lawful documents for the residents through the execution of the following core functions: management of legislation and records relating to issuance of identity documents, births, marriages, deaths, passport, and travel documents. Maintain secure, accurate, accessible system such as National Population Register and National Identity System and related data. Affirm and regulate official identity, civic status, and the acquisition and the loss of the citizenship. Provide access to secure and efficient services through enabling documents. From the State of the Nation address, the President Cyril Ramaphosa mentioned the following 5 government priorities areas which the Department of Home Affairs plays a critical role in them. That is, I'm just going to mention them: encouraging of investment, creation of jobs, especially for the youth, infrastructure development, address corruption, and improve service delivery efficiency. On addressing corruption, I just want to highlight to those who lies and in the pretext of working for the people. If you are a whistleblower, if you are trying to work for your government, please do not falsify documents, as we have witnessed in our committee. People falsified a document in the pretext of working for their organization. And it is totally unacceptable, and it's a corruption at high cost. Improve service delivery efficiency. All that I have mentioned, Home Affairs facilitate in ensuring that all is being realized. National Development Plan requires the Department of Home Affairs to facilitate acquisition of critical skills, to facilitate the building of a capable state, and playing a role in the regional development by working with the SADC countries to improve the efficient, secure, and managed movement of the people. It is in the mind that the ANC wants to lead our people along a path that leads to a better, sustainable future of tireless, ethical, and innovative services. At the ANC policy conference, the 4th National Conference, the ANC committed itself in positioning Home Affairs at the backbone of security and service delivery. Under the apartheid regime, the main objective of the Department of Home Affairs was to control our people and deny them right to citizenship and identity and freedom, among other injustices. Chairperson, the Department of Home Affairs plays a pivotal role in central to enabling security and service provision, which will South African now can proudly claim their citizenship, their identity and dignity, despite of their challenges they face. From the African National Congress Policy Conference, the ANC resolved on 4.2E that ANC branches, together with the ANC councillors, should develop and maintain ward profiles in order to account for all residents in the respective wards and participate in the Department of Home Affairs.
Unfortunately, your time has expired. Thank you very much.
But I support this budget vote, and Amil Cabral said, tell no lies, claims no easy victories. I thank you.
The next speaker is Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, Honorable Members and distinguished guests. Allow me at the outset to say that the National Freedom Party supports the budget vote tabled here today. My colleague on the left says it's a surprise. I don't know what he expects. We must admit there are a lot of successes, there are challenges, but in order to address those challenges, you can't oppose a budget. I would like him to oppose the Parliament budget so that he doesn't get paid, and let's see how that goes. He's not going to do that, because he must get paid to come and oppress our people. Anyway, Honorable Chairperson, whilst the DG reported that Management Authority, the BMA, upgrading of key points of entry and improved client experience will be prioritized in the 2014-2019 medium-term strategic framework, the question is how much and what have we achieved? And let me admit, Honorable Chairperson, that there are still very serious challenges at the borders. Let us be honest about that. I mean, I've been speaking to people. It is so easy for people to be able to get across the border. Some of them pay as little as 50 rand just to get across, even if they've got expired papers and things. So I hope the Minister is taking note of that so that we could perhaps deal more effectively with border control, and especially those coming from the SADC region. Appears to be a serious problem. I must also admit and agree with Honorable Hanif Hussain when he spoke about the issue of foreigners and the Somalis in the country. There is a ticking time bomb in South Africa. If we're going to allow foreigners to come into South Africa, remain in South Africa, remain illegally, come in illegally, and be employed in South Africa, and employers are paying very little and exploiting them and employing them at the expense of South Africans, you are going to have a very, very serious problem in the country. So I think and I hope that we can also address that. But one way of addressing that is to deal with what is happening at the borders. Honorable Chairperson, I'll be failing in my duty if I don't give credit where it is due. The Home Affairs branches of Barrick Street and Randburg particularly have been providing exceptional services. There are times and occasions where people have been calling from all over with challenges, and when you send them through to these offices and you make that one telephone call, they have been very, very effective. We also believe there is a problem in terms of the refugee centers, Minister. Refugees in different parts of the country have to travel all the way to Pretoria, sometimes wait there in long queues from the night before, and then not served, and to go back the next day. They have to pay bribes to get people to stand in the queues, and we think that you should think of trying to set up refugee centers in all provinces so people in those provinces can actually travel to those provinces. The other problem that we seem to be having is the issue of TRPs and permanent residents in the country. Honorable Minister, one of the problems we have is that repeatedly we are finding people are coming in, and I've got a particular case of a lady who's here 13 years, has a 10-year-old child, married for 13 years in South Africa. And what has happened? She applied for a TRP.
May you please round up?
Sorry, and it continues, and what eventually happened is that she then had to apply for a visitor's permit because it had expired. Then they rejected it. She appealed, they rejected again. Now, what is also happening is we're finding that people that are paying exorbitant amounts of money are getting the documents, and those that are doing it legally and legitimately are not. And we're calling for the department to deal with these matters. We welcome the interventions by the department, and we are of the opinion that if the interventions are implemented, the department will run smoothly and more effectively. Your IT department seems to be a challenge while you're upgrading. Let us not forget that when you upgraded, there were challenges before, and instead of dealing with those challenges, we've upgraded without taking those challenges into consideration.
No,
This is
thank
what
you
I
very
brought
much,
up.
Honorable
The National Freedom
Membership.
Party supports the
Your
report
time
tabled
has
here today.
expired. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Kekane.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Members of Parliament, the department officials led by the DG, ladies and gentlemen, Lochani. Locating the mandate of the debate with the ANC 54 National Conference mandate and the year of Nelson Mandela's centenary, it is with a profound sense of responsibility that I stand before you on behalf of the ANC to support the budget vote of 2017-2018 financial year. We know the duty we owe to our people to lead them along a path that leads to a magnificent and attainable future, to be tireless, ethical, and innovative to deliver quality service in a manner that is convenient and enduring. Improving and through innovative ways how we deliver service in itself, devoid of innovation and new ideas, is being negated in practice. In this department that many people once resented visiting, the ANC government is repositioning Home Affairs as a modern, digital, secure custodian of national identity, responding to the present and future needs and circumstances and run by professionals, operating in a highly secure environment to protect the precious record of the lives of our people. Under the apartheid regime, with its Bantustan offspring, the main objective of the Department of Home Affairs was to control black people and deny them their citizenship, identity, dignity, and freedom of movement. The National Democratic Revolution seeks to ensure that every South African, especially the poor, experience an improving quality of life. It seeks to build a developmental state shaped by the history and socio-economic dynamics of South African society. Home Affairs is the backbone of our national security, service delivery and development, because it is the custodian of the unique identity of all citizens and documented foreigners residing in South Africa. Home Affairs plays a crucial role in enabling all South Africans to proudly claim their citizenship, their identity and dignity. All modern social systems in health, education, welfare, security, employment, and banking system services are dependent on identities being secured. A developmental state is unable to meet its essential goals without a detailed and secure identification system that incorporates both citizens and non-citizens who live, work, and study within our borders. The identification system is crucial for a range of social, economic, and cultural activities, and to ensure that the state is empowered to organize itself, plan for the future, and protect its citizens. A better and a safe life for all South Africa is only if we are integrated into the global community and if we develop together with our region. The Department of Home Affairs vote is allocated 7 billion in the 2018-19 financial year. Of this amount, 2 billion is earmarked for Electoral Commission and the represented political parties fund as transfer payments. Compensation of employees for the department at 3 billion constitutes 41% of the budget. Goods and services at 2 billion constitutes 28%, and capital 251 million, or 3% of the vote allocation. Performance for second and third quarters were achieved against the backdrop of the following environmental factors. The agent need to require and record addresses of voters on the voters roll, which included an online address harvesting campaign and preparations for the national elections with highly contested and fractious political environment, requires a well-resourced independent electoral commission to carry out its mandate. Due to the budget constraints, Independent Electoral Commission is unable to achieve some of its targets, which affects negatively the quality of its work. The number of liaison sessions increased by 68 and exceeded targets set for Q2. This was due to the increase in the number of by-election held. Due to the budget constraints, most of the training interventions were put on hold in Q2. The number of civic and democracy education events held per annum, it was not achieved as yet, but due to the quality assurances processes currently underway, the Q2 target might still be achieved. A process is being implemented to ensure that the quality assurance processes do not delay the achievement of targets. There were 18 by-elections in Q2, 2017-2018, all of which were held within 90 days. The result for 17 by-elections were announced in one day, and the result for one by-election were announced in 2 days in Q2. In the advancement of certain designated groups according to Preferential Procurement Regulations 2017, the GPW made 75% of all acquisitions from all through BBEE level 1 to 3 organization. The GPW remains financially sustainable and liquid by its high efficiency and continual improvement while operating a lean manufacturing organization. Completion of the Pavilion 3 construction project enables the second phase of developing and occupying modern, state-of-art manufacturing facilities that promote innovative and technologically advanced manufacturing techniques. The attainment of world-class quality standards in in respect of the manufacturing of high security documents such as passport, identity document, examination material, and government gazettes. Advancements within the ICT, through a hardware refresh program enable high performance, security, data flexibility, and availability. High ICT security ensured zero security incident and complete mitigation of all vulnerable. Chairperson, the only way of dealing with the issue of illegal immigrants is by implementing the BMA. Of course, the minister has alluded that the BMA is on the final stage. So as soon as—
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Time
the
has
agency
expired.
support the budget.
The next speaker is Honorable Malda.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable colleagues, this is a good department. It's one of the better departments. And if you look at the services that this department provides, it should not be political at all. But there's something seriously wrong, I think. If in a debate, members of Parliament would get up and say on more than one occasion that the Honourable Minister lied, and that nobody really takes a point of order because they can't really take a point of order because it's part of certain judgments where certain findings were made, then there's something really wrong. And I don't want to make cheap points or try to embarrass the minister. But really, we cannot afford that kind of situation. And I'm not trying to make a cheap point between the minister and the deputy minister. But my experience is that the deputy minister has been a stable force within that department over the last couple of years. Many people today said that the department is doing very well, and then they all congratulated the DG. But we also remember that it was not very long ago when there was an attempt to get rid of the DG. It happened a few months ago. Who did that? It was a political decision again by a ruling party minister. And life is strange. The minister is gone, and the DG is continuing to do excellent work. So all I'm trying to say is that this department is actually doing very good work, and it's one department, if there could be absolutely no political interference, it will be so much better. We should not generalize. Yes, there are certain offices where there are problems, but in general, the department and the officials are doing a very good job, and we should be thankful for that. And I'm referring to the officials right from the DG right through. The establishment of the Border Management Authority is absolutely essential. Our credibility is being jeopardized because of the situation at our borders. I've had the opportunity a month ago to visit Europe, and I've been to one or two of the developed countries. And when I left there, the experience was a bad experience. There was one lady in charge there at the passport control, and all of us European Union passport holders had to go through that process. And it was almost if we were deliberately being delayed and questions asked for how long, etc., etc. When I came back in Johannesburg, it was a good experience to be welcomed by our own officials, and it was absolutely efficient, and we quickly went through. We were welcomed in a friendly manner, and I think that's the way we should do it. Honourable Minister, I know that in the budget of the department, you're responsible for the direct transfer of the Electoral Commission.
May you please round up?
You're responsible for direct transfer to the Electoral Commission. But you are aware of the fact that the bill is being passed by the National Assembly, is currently in front of the NCOP, that will deal with the funding of political parties. All I'm asking is, Honourable Minister, is that when it comes to the additional budget later in the year, that you make sure that the right processes are followed, and in time to make provision for the implementation of that important legislation that we all think is very important. The Honourable Raputi, with all due respect, at the end of the speech referred to an ANC strategy where she said that at their branches they took a decision that branches should get involved on ground level with the department. I want to plead, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Leave the department and the officials to do their jobs. Political parties should not get involved on ground level, on local level, directly with the department. Don't hinder the officials to do the work that they should do. Please don't do that. I understand very well. Honourable Chairperson, I think this department is doing very well. I think we should assist them, but we should also please keep down with the interference in the department.
I'm sorry, Chairperson.
No, thank you very much,
That
Honorable
matter is
Mulder. Your
misleading the
time has
House.
expired.
He's misleading the House.
Can we go to the next speaker? And the next speaker is Honorable Chauke.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Minister of Home Affairs, the Deputy Minister, the Director General of Home Affairs, the staff of Home Affairs, Deputy Directors, and all of them, and honorable members of Parliament. I'm very happy that Honorable Mulder, as I took this platform, we have made the most important statement ever I've known you. That for the first time you acknowledge that you are not European, but you are South African. You said that where you were overseas, you saw a sign that says that European this side and the rest of you. So I agree that you are the rest of us, and I'm very happy for that.
Honourable Chairperson.
Now,
Chairperson.
Chair.
Honourable Chairperson, it's you out there.
Thank you very much.
Honourable Chairperson.
On what rule are you rising?
I'm rising on the rule that says I'm entitled to ask the Honourable Speaker a very friendly question, and he's got a lot of time, so I want to ask him if he's prepared that I'm entitled to ask him a friendly question.
Right. Let me clear that with him.
I'll take the question later. Definitely, I'm going to take it. I'll give you a minute
that's
for
good.
that. I'll take the question. I mean, he's my brother, not a problem. Now, Chair, the issue that you then raised, Honorable Mulder, that the ANC is a stakeholder. In fact, the ANC in 1994 started a program called Votani Mawetu to help South Africans who could not even afford to get a photo to go and apply for Home Affairs, an ID, for them to be able to vote. The ANC has played that role. The ANC continue playing that role of helping South Africans to make sure that they get the South African citizenship, for them to be able to exercise their right, not only to vote for the ANC as much as we want them to vote for the ANC, but to vote for, can be the DA, whoever that they want to vote for. That's the responsibility and the leadership that the ANC is giving. Now, Chair, Honorable Sheikh Imam raises the point of illegal immigrants and failure to deal with immigrants who are taking the jobs of South Africans. The issue is so big that you cannot address the issue of illegal immigrants without addressing what is happening in the region. For a Zimbabwean to get a passport takes 2,000 rand. For a Zimbabwean to apply for a passport in Zimbabwe, it takes them 2,000 rand, which they don't have. Now, with our borders that are so porous, people then opt to jump the fence and come to the country. That's one of the challenges that, as we address the issue of free movement of persons, I think, Minister, in your point that you have made, that you have now certain countries are being given free visa regime. We have to focus at the regional level. The region has challenges. In other countries in the region, they do not even have systems to give just an ID for their citizens to be able to travel. So that's the challenge that South Africa will always have. But let us go back to reality and look at how far and where we come from with this department. Let's go back to years back, 1652, the arrival of 300 gentlemen. None of them had a visa. None of them had a passport. None of them had a work permit. All of them arrived and descended in the Cape. All of them. None of them had a passport. Neither a work permit that says I'm going to work in the Cape. None of them. Today, where we are sitting, we are sitting of a Department of Home Affairs that has an international standard when it comes to systems. And this work is done by nobody else. It is done by the ANC-led government. If I want to remind you back, honorable members, and I think the fighters will agree with me, that when at some point in time, go back to Sharkville, look at the struggles of the people of Sharkville, why they were killed. The issue of the Dompas. The Dompas which was made only for African people to carry. In South Africa, by the way, white South Africans did not even have take fingerprints. When we took over in 1994, there was never a white system that white people have a fingerprint. Honorable Mudra will tell you that he had an ID, but he did not take his fingerprint. So this department had to start afresh to compile all South Africans' fingerprints, starting with them that side. Was saying you are not there, you're not around, you don't understand this thing. Now, the point that I want to make, no. Honorable was saying, you need to be honest, you see. The points that you make, I agree with you, there are challenges, and it's ongoing challenges. EFF, IFP, Honorable Singh, you're supposed to be standing proud to talk about the foundation laid by the former minister, who's the first minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Buthelezi, your leader. Right, so as you talk challenges, you must be able to measure the work that was done by your leader to date, and then say that, in fact, as we started in 1994, Honorable Buthelezi was leading, and therefore he has laid the following foundation. You need to be proud, and don't support the vote and say, we support the vote. You must support it proudly so, and say, we support the vote. Now, Hossein, Honorable Hossein, you raise a very important point about issues of violence and the killing of our people. But you failed to condemn Israel and the killing of Palestinians. But the issue is because, the issue is because, even if you have said it, but you have said it very quiet again. Even if you have said it, but we did not hear you.
While my colleague was reading the history in South Africa,
One moment.
he wasn't listening to what I was saying.
Honourable member, please do not rise until you are recognized.
So,
we're not running a circus.
So the point we're making, obvious, Honorable Hussein, is that let us condemn what has happened, what is happening. Let us condemn the killing of the Palestinians. If we were to understand the role that they've played in your liberation here in this country, you'll never understand why they continue fighting. I think it's a call that we must make, and it's a call that we must every day call for a negotiated settlement for two-state solution to arrive at. Because one life, it's enough. It's really enough. We cannot allow this situation to carry on, and therefore, we want to support the initiative taken by our government to recall the ambassador, and furthermore actions that need to be taken. Minister Malusi, you need to look at that. Now, let us look, therefore, at the descendants that we now have of Jan van Riebeeck and the rest of the people that are still on the other side. The progressive South Africans are this side. You find them here. You don't find them that side. Now,
Honourable Kachalia, please keep your voice down.
Well, Honourable Kachalia, I don't mind to address you, but I don't want to address you directly. So therefore, Minister, the points that we want to make is to really encourage you on the foundation that every day, you see, we call you Mr. Gigabyte for a reason. We call you Mr. Gigabyte for a reason. Look at how this department has transformed on the issues of technology. Just go outside there and look at the kind of technology that this department, under the ANC-led government, by the way, nobody else, under the ANC-led government, this department has produced systems that a refugee will just go, he does not even dare to go to the office anymore. See, it is outside there. You just plug your refugee certificate, it will confirm if your status must be renewed, or it's such a wonderful system that this government is moving on.
You have 2 minutes.
Now, the issue of the Guptas. The issue of the Guptas, let me tell you, the issue of the Guptas, both ourselves in the committee, together with EFF members there, our fighters, we have agreed this matter is going to be investigated to the fullest. The process that we have started now is that the committee section of Parliament has started to compile all the information that is required for us to be able to determine the kind of an action that we must take. What we have done, in fact, the very same Guptas that are sitting with South African passports, some of them, they are sitting with ID books from South Africa, You are sitting with ID books from South Africa. We'll recall them. If they got it fraudulently, the position that we'll take is that we'll recall and take those passports from them. But it's a process. It's a process. Now, the issue that we are doing a mistake, the issue that we are doing a mistake,
please finish off now.
the issue that we are making as a mistake or saying is to take the blame and blame to the minister on the laws that are challenged by the Constitutional Court. The laws of Parliament are the laws of Parliament. They're not ministers' laws. If the Constitutional Court found the law wanting, it's not about the minister. Now, because he's blacker than me, in the previous way, obviously, it will be said that, you know, this Dagis one, are you from Malawi? Are you from Nigeria? This is what he's going through. To date, as we speak, Honorable Malusi Gigaba, the minister, still find himself being questioned about his citizenship only because he's like me. Opposition party. So, Minister, me and you are South Africans, and we are proud to be South African, and we'll continue to deliver the better service for South Africans. We are very proud of the work that you are doing, and we'll continue working and give you the... Long live the ANC, nobody else, but long live the ANC.
Honourable Minister of Home Affairs, Honourable Gekabe.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, I want to thank you very much for a lively debate punctuated by light moments such as the remarks by Honorable Chauke. I want to thank you for the support for the department and the kind words honorable members have said about our staff. We will continue to improve our services in line with the constitution of our country and the expectations of us. I join Honorable Kumete in sending our condolences to Honorable Mnisi and wishes for a speedy recovery to the honorable members who are not well. We have responded extensively. We addressed ourselves extensively to issues raised about network reliability and our desire to ensure that we have 99% availability by the end of 2019. We have addressed ourselves extensively to the issues Honorable Singh raised about the long queues, the short staffing, network reliability, and equipment in the department. Insofar as corruption is concerned in the department, I am happy to report that we have seen declining trends. There were 60 cases of corruption reported last year and dealt with by the counter-corruption unit. 33 of those were Home Affairs officials. So 33 against a total of 10,000 officials, I think, is good performance. There have been 11 cases reported thus far since April this year, and we hope that we can beat last year in having lesser numbers. The issues of resources vis-à-vis the South African Revenue Service are quite important because they deal only with a fraction of the tax-paying population of South Africa. But we deal with all 56 to 57 million South Africans, but we only have a fraction of the resources that they have. I'm not here pleading for more budget. We will do our best and we'll continue to do our best within the resources that we have. Honorable Hussein has a history of twisting the truth to suit his particular objectives. He stands here to claim to be a paragon of honesty, yet the honorable member has a history of telling untruths both to the committee and to the House. In 2015, he stood here to claim that we had that VFS that was hired by the government of Dubai and waived a receipt for somebody who was traveling from Dubai to South Africa, no, from South Africa to Dubai, from Saudi Arabia to from South Africa to Saudi Arabia, and claimed that that receipt was issued by VFS South Africa. The honorable member still has to be taken to task by this House for deliberately misleading the House and presenting falsified documentation to support his claims. The honorable member further makes claims that we will not deal with extensively today on Fireblade because they are going to be subjected to a court process. The honorable member resorts to vilification to avoid facts and the test of validity to his claims, and thus demeans the title of honorable member. Because he has nothing to say about his non-existent record, or all he has is to try and blemish our good record of delivery by resorting to vilification and slander directed at my person and my family, attacking us for the same privileges which are available to and accessed by the DA government. He does not question them about their access to the same privileges because of racialistic reasons. There can be no other argument to this. He claims that the DA, if given an opportunity, would double capacity at Home Affairs, which goes completely against the grain of the so-called liberal policies of his organization. He knows that they are a neoliberal organization which believes in small government, which believes in retrenchments and cutting down labor. How on earth would he increase capacity against the very policies which his organization belongs to? But they can say these things and be elastic about them because opportunism, seemingly, in their opinion, pays. The question is, does he represent the DA or the Fireblade Alliance? What does he represent, the DA or a family? The question he raises about what happened between the 28th of January and early February has been answered in the committee. What happened between those two dates has been answered in the committee and it's on record. But the truth does not matter because it stands in the way of vilification and misleading the public and the House. He doesn't care a little bit about the truth because it is not going to advance his agenda of representing a family over the interests of the country. We have received a request from the committee to open up our documents on this Fireblade issue, and we will. And so honorable members must not confuse oversight for vilification and jump to make findings on issues which the documents are still going to be made available. We have asked the question, if we gave authorization to this, where is the letter that expressly did so? Where was a competitive bidding process in terms of the PFMA which enabled this to be done? Where is the contract signed by the DG which enabled this? These questions have not been asked, answered, and will not be answered.
Point of Chair, sorry, Minister. My apologies, please. The honorable member seems to be having a serious problem. He's hitting the desk, he hit his head. Is the clinic open there? He needs serious help. Please, can you attend to the honorable member?
Honourable Chowki, I think the honourable member is able to indicate to
he's not well.
us if he has. No, let us leave it, yes. No, it's just a gesture that he enjoys making. Let us leave it at that. All right?
Honorable Chairperson.
Will you continue, Minister?
Indeed, when they cannot match up to you, and cannot reach out to your intellectual capacity, what remains is to insult and to vilify, to besmirch, to blemish, and to slander. Chairperson, the Honorable Mkalipi raises an issue, and I want to clarify, I want to simplify, actually to sink down to her level on this issue. She says, again, it's incorrect, Honorable Mkalipi. I don't think you deliberately sought to mislead the House, but you are just incorrect. Mr. Ajay Gupta doesn't have South African citizenship. He is a permanent resident.
Minister.
He holds only a PR identity document, which is green barcoded, with an ID number which clearly stipulates he is a permanent resident. It is not true that he is a voter. It is not true that he is a voter. I was trying to be nice, Honorable Mkalipi. I was trying to be nice. Mr. Ajay Gupta is not a voter.
Order, Chair.
Does not
Honourable
have South
member.
African
Order, Chair.
ID.
Just a minute, Minister. Honourable member.
Point of order, Chair.
What point of order?
So the minister must not come here and try to be a superstar here. So how did that Gupta people end up on a voter's roll? Because IEC confirmed that those people are in the voter's roll. Please tell us.
Honourable member. Honourable member. All members, just a minute, just a minute. Member, we are not in any position to check the veracity of that statement, one way or the other. So what we will do is put this forward to the office bearers. Thank you.
The
I
honorable
can't
member
check it
confuses the two brothers who got their citizenship in 2002 and 2003 with Mr. Ajay, who is not a South African citizen. But the truth does not matter because it doesn't make you trend on social media. It doesn't earn you political stripes in your political party and doesn't make you succeed in your vilification campaign of your opponents. This matter, again, like all others, will stand the test of scrutiny, and the truth will out, the lies will also out. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I heard members wondering just when this would be checked. I'm not in a position to check it today. And may I add, no, I do not look to the media to provide me with veracity. Thank you. So, members, on that note, thank you, and the House is adjourned.